look like if I had the full head of it. But I think for the most part, it's a part of me. And I love the fact that I can have the option to put my hair on. I'm very fortunate and I have the option. Some people don't.
Welcome to HairPod, the podcast where you get to hear real people talk about their hair journeys. Hair loss happens to people at different times for different reasons, so each story is as unique as the next. I'm your host, Kevin Ralston, and each week I get to interview people from different walks of life who've all been through hair loss in some form or fashion and have found a way to get their confidence and their hair back. Our guest today is Abby Jensen. Her hair journey began in the womb. Abby was born with a rare condition called amniotic band syndrome, which caused scarring on her scalp. I never heard of this condition before, so Abby gave me a little bit of a background on how it occurs and just how it set her hair journey into motion.
So it's extremely rare. Usually it affects the limbs, like either your arms or your legs. So mine was rare in itself, but extremely rare that it happened to my head versus anywhere else. It's essentially when your mom is pregnant with you, you're in this amniotic sac. And when my mom was pregnant with me, it ripped and her body tried to fix it, and a bunch of blood vessels came together and they created this band, which is where the name comes from. And when I was born, this band was wrapped all the way around my head. And when the doctors were like, this is causing an infection, she's really sick, they ended up just ripping it off. And when they did that, all my hair went with it. I'm actually not wearing any hair right now, so my scar kind of goes all the way around. So I have some hair in the back here, but I have nothing up top at all. So.
Wow. And that's something from birth. So right away. Wow.
Right away. And afterwards, I was in the hospital for a couple weeks because I was also a preemie. So my parents had to learn very quickly how to get care together. So my head I needed a bunch of care, but my head needed to be changed every couple hours with new dressings and stuff to cover it up and keep the infection away, per se.
Now, after you were born, how long was this, something that you had to pay so much attention to? Does it have a healing process? And when it does, what do you look like at that point?
It healed. And so I'm just left with a big scar, per se. So I have some growth up top, but it's very, very minimal.
I've never heard of a condition like this. Have you ever heard from anyone else? Have you ever talked to someone else that has had this? You are one in a million, I think. It's so unique, your story.
According to the NIH, amniotic band syndrome affects approximately 1 in every 15,000 babies. But as Abby said, most children only experience scarring on their arms, hands, legs, or feet. So I asked Abby what it was like growing up with a condition as rare as ABS.
Kids are mean, so I would get a bunch of looks and stares and pointing the finger. And so hats were a big thing when I was younger.
Do you remember how that made you feel? How did your parents react too? That's got to be tough for them to see other kids acting that way.
It was definitely tough. I think my mom took it harder than my dad. But my dad, they both, it's their kid and something that's not normal about them. And so I don't remember before I started with Hair Club, but I remember kind of after I got a wig on and kids in elementary school kind of started to figure it out because I would go different lengths or colors or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And no fourth grader dyes their hair. So it was a big topic when I came into school with brown hair versus blonde hair, kind of a big conversation. I was 4 years old when I started at Hair Club. So my mom was very on the ball of I don't want her to go to school without hair.
Right. Wow.
So we started with, I forget the organization, but there was one that wouldn't help me because I didn't have cancer. And then my mom found Hair Club for men because back then it was just called for men. There was really nothing else.
Right.
And I would have to ask my mom who the directors or the people in charge were, but she found them and they kind of were okay, let's meet with her. Let's see what we can do. So they met with me and my parents, and I've been a client now for 20 years. I remember my first wig was one I could put on and take off. So my parents had like a little head that we would put my hair on when we'd go out in public, and then I'd go home and they would take it off and I'd be without it. And then my mom slowly realized that this was not sustainable for, a kid, like running around, like swimming and dancing and stuff. So we got into, they came up, well, I'm sure I was not the first person to do this, but they had me start using a hairpiece that I could glue onto my head. So they used like a polyfuse kind of solution in the back of my head because it's less sensitive. So I had tape in the front and glue in the back for a long time. And I was able to swim, I could dance, I could run, I could shower, I could straighten it if I wanted to, like add heat products and stuff. So that was, huge. It allowed me to be normal, like my friends and like my parents and everyone else I knew. So that was, just huge in itself.
Was it something that you thought a lot about? Were you always aware that you had on some hair? Were you nervous if you went swimming or were doing anything too active as a kid?
Oh yeah, it was very, like the chlorine doesn't like my hair. So I would come out, the pool was a big thing. I'd go with like extra leave-in conditioner spray and a brush. And I'd always like be sure who I was with, like be able to help me, especially if my mom wasn't with me.
Okay.
So it was very like brush your hair after you swim, put conditioner on it before you go, just be careful. I remember one time we were going, I think it was the 4th of July, and it was right around the age, I think I was like 10 or 11, where I was finally like, Mom, I can put the tape on myself and do it myself. So I remember it flips up. So obviously, like I'm taping it, so I'm pulling it down. And I remember I was taping it and I pulled it down and I ripped it. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. So I like put it back on, and my mom put like a headband around so you couldn't see where it was ripped. But she was like, yeah, never again. We're going to go to hair club and they can teach you how to do it so you can learn yourself.
It's so interesting to hear Abby talking about her experience. She's been using her current hair loss solution for long enough that she's really figured out what works for her and made adjustments for that. But she didn't figure it out all on her own. Abby's been working with the same stylist for all 20 years that she's been at Hair Club.
Her name's Lori. I've been with her since I was 4. She's been the first person I've let touch my head. Kind of do anything, and I've stuck with her, and I've gone to her every month since my appointments are 4 weeks apart. Obviously, with scheduling issues here and there, I've had like other people, but she's been my rock. She's helped me with even like dances for school. She would do my hair. She helped me learn the colors that I wanted, the styles that I wanted. I love longer hair, so I buy the 18-inch hair. So she helps me kind of what I want to do, what I want to look like per se. I have a brown hair, so she helps me like color match it and get what I need on order and everything. She's been just absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't ask for a better stylist.
Yeah, there's just something about that, right? When you have that kind of connection with somebody and somebody is there defending you and they've got that ability that...
Oh, yeah. And she knows everything. She knows what I like, what I don't. How I like the hair put on, how I like it like taken off. She's got it down. We have a whole system now. When I go in, I know what I'm doing. She knows what she's doing. It's phenomenal.
Tell me a little bit about, because over 20 years, I am kind of curious, just, how it's gone. I know how Hair Club and the technologies have advanced and, where you were then to where you are now, how much has it changed and just what is the difference in the way that it feels and the way that it looks, the texture even of the hair that you have now compared to when you were 4?
Oh, yeah. I know I have like better hair, obviously, as like technology's moved on.
Yeah.
I don't have alopecia or anything, obviously. So my hair has kind of been, I order the same thing every month. I get the same thing in, just obviously new versus old. So it's a system that goes directly on the top of my head, and it goes like literally just the circle around. So I don't have like the full hair, because I know some wigs can go like down to like the way back to show like the hair on the back. So I just have it strictly up top. It's definitely been, I remember I was blonde for a couple years. I don't remember the ages. I would say 5 to 9. And then I switched to brown hair, like my normal color. It's phenomenal just the way the hair has evolved. I used to get like really thin hair, and then sometimes the hair wouldn't be like curly enough, or like it would just be really, really hard to deal with, like really tangly per se. Now it's really thick, it's long, I can color it any way I want to, so that's really cool. And still, now I can still use the heat products, I can still swim, I can still dance. It's phenomenal what they've really come up with for people like me who can't, and it's amazing.
speak a little bit to somebody that doesn't know, just how involved is it? How much of a burden is it for somebody that's used to maybe having their own full head of hair? How much additional work is it? You're going to the hairdresser, you said, every 4 weeks, but what does it look like in between that time? How much time does it take for you every day to get your hair ready so that it looks the way you want it to look?
Well, I spend a lot of time on my hair.
Do you think more than you need to, or is it because some people, they would just spend a ton of time and some people are like, yeah, it's good enough. I go. To what level do you go?
It definitely depends. Sometimes I get out of the shower and I'm like, I'll just braid it. I'll just let it do its thing. But then sometimes I'm like, I'll blow dry it. I'll straighten it. I'll style it so it's okay for a few days. And I think it just depends. Honestly, dealing from a full head of hair, and I live with one of my good friends now. So I think kind of comparing someone to full head of hair and me with like half a head of hair plus the hair piece, I don't really think it's any different. I can wash it like normal. I can do normal things that any young adult woman would do. I can straighten it and style it. And I don't think it takes much additional time. I mean, you have to be careful. You have to use some like heat protectant and some like different products. But no, I mean, it's human hair. So it's kind of, it does everything you want it to do.
How aware are you of it? Does it make your head hot? Are there any issues like that? Or is it something that just feels like it's a part of you?
Now I feel like it's something that's a part of me, but I know lately I've always itched here and there. So like usually it gets really itchy about the time that I'm supposed to go. So now my stylist and I have come up with the solution of no more glue. We're just doing tape. So now I can take it off whenever I want to, which has been fantastic.
Right. Wow. Okay.
So it helps with my itching. I can wash my own head in the shower now. And I used to just wait once a month for her to do it. So that was huge for me. But no, I think being able to take it on and off was a big thing.
Listening to Abby now, you can hear just how confident she is when she talks about her situation. But like most people I've spoken to about their hair loss, there's a lot of emotions tied up in hair, whether we have it or we don't.
It was very tough to grow up with, and I didn't want to be different. I didn't want to have special treatment per se. Like I didn't want to have to brush my hair extra when I went to the pool with my friends. I didn't want to worry about dance competitions in my hair, like in different styles than everybody else. And to be able to have the hair piece, it saved me, honestly. Like I can be normal, I can look normal, and you wouldn't know that I wear a wig unless you asked. And I used to be so hidden about it. If people would tell me, oh, like I heard this, whatever. And I was just like, no, like that's not true. Like my hair is real. I used to hide it actually. And now I've gotten to the point, I'm 24 now. So I've gotten to the point where I can share it. I tell my friends. I've only just recently started taking my hair off every so often, so I can kind of get used to washing my head on my own, because that was something I could never do. To be able to share with my friends and family was a big thing for me. I even come to work now with a scarf on, and that's pretty big too. So
what are the reactions you get? What do people say? And
well, now they love it.
It seems like
I tell people now and they're like, wow, like I can't believe, you go through that. I can't believe you deal with this. I can't believe you can talk about it so freely. It's huge to be able to say to people like, oh, this is what I deal with. This is what I have. And to show people, I think when I was younger, I wanted someone to look up to, and I didn't have that. I didn't have somebody that looked like me or that had something similar to me. So it was hard. Honestly, it was very tough, but now I can be like, this is who I am. It's not going anywhere. I can't change it. I can just embrace it. And I think that's kind of where I'm at is too. I can show my friends, I can show my family, I can be open to strangers about my hair situation and everything. So I think it's a big growth mindset, but also just a acceptance factor is it's okay to be different. It's okay to have something different than other people. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned is it's okay.
Would those be the words that you would say to the 4-year-old you?
Absolutely.
Now speak to the parents, because I'm sure it was emotionally challenging for your parents as well.
Oh, it still is, for sure.
I bet. And so if you were speaking to parents out there, because we deal with a charity that has a lot of kids that have cancer treatments and things like that, where they're losing their hair, and it's tough. And we always focus on the kids and making sure that they're emotionally right. But I see the same kind of struggles going on with their parents. They want to help, and they feel so lost and so desperate. So what would you say to a parent that has a child that at the age of 4 is dealing with hair issues like what you were?
I think I would just say, just be there for them. I mean, let them complain, let them be sad about it, let them kind of embrace it. I mean, it's okay. And I needed to hear that when I was younger, that it's okay to be different. It's okay to have something wrong or something not 100%, and just be there, and that it's okay. And my mom, like the whole line she still tells me to this day is, if I could trade places with you, I would. And now that I'm older, I wouldn't want her to trade places with me. So your kid is, I mean, they're strong as all hell and they can get through this. And I'm here to talk to little kids like that. I mean, when I was younger, I definitely wanted someone. So I can just kind of spread my knowledge, is like, I can talk to your kid, I can talk to you, I can help kind of give them a perspective, but just kind of, it's okay. And essentially that's what I think my parents needed to hear too, is that it's okay that she's going through this, and she is going to handle it, and she's going to grow and be strong. And that's what I needed to hear when I was 4. And I think that's what my parents needed to hear too. Sometimes I get really emotional about it still. Sometimes I just accept it. I'm like, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. The scar is never going to go anywhere. But then sometimes I'm like, I wish it was different. Like, I always sometimes wonder like what my hair would look like if I had the full head of it. But I think for the most part, it's a part of me. And I love the fact that I can have the option to put my hair on. I'm very fortunate and I have the option. Some people don't. So, I mean, it's huge.
You said when you were younger that kids would know just because your hairstyles would change. How do you feel about now? Do you think that a lot of people realize that you have something, or would most people not?
No, because I think now, even when I tell new people I meet and I talk about it, they're like, oh, like, no, you don't. Like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, no, I promise. I mean, it's human hair, but it's fake. I mean, so yeah, I mean, new people that I tell are very surprised when I tell them that my hair is not real.
Abby, you have such an inspirational story just from what you've been through and where you are and what you've done and how amazing it is. I really appreciate your courage to come on here and share that, because there are so many people right now that are going to feel so much better just hearing your story and your conversation, and knowing that there is hope out there for them, that if they're feeling self-conscious about it, that they could go out and find Hair Club. They could find a stylist that could be with them and take care of them just like what you found. So thank you so much, Abby.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening and spreading my story. And it's okay to be different. That's my main message here.
Abby's story is really unique. Very few people have amniotic band syndrome, and even fewer are affected by the way that Abby is. But that's not the only thing that makes Abby's journey so special. She has come so far in the 20 years she has been with Hair Club. Not just in how she does her hair routine, but also in her courage and self-acceptance. She's learned not to be afraid of being different. And now she is sharing her story in hopes that a child or parent dealing with childhood hair loss can feel a little bit less alone. Thanks for listening to another episode of HairPod. If you think this story would resonate with somebody you know, share this episode with them or have them visit our website, podcast.hairclub.com. We'd also love it if you'd follow @HairClub on Instagram or find us on Facebook. Until next time.